Rana to introduce herself. So let me pull up my slides here. And yes, as you've seen, these are our faces. We're excited to be here tonight. And I'll give Sarana a chance to share more about herself once I contextualize our org a little bit. We were officially established in 2008 here in DC, and we're all about equitable access to green spaces, especially kid-driven green spaces. So tonight we're going to present on our youth entrepreneurship cooperative model, which is the program within which Mighty Greens, a youth-led garden-based cooperative, thrives and grows, and the youth really drive this business to be mission aligned and thriving. And here you see our resource that I'll share a link to in just a moment, or you can scan that QR code, take a screenshot to learn more about all the tools and all the strategies, all the lessons learned that we've gone through over the decade of supporting this program. So I'll pass it off to Sarana to quickly share about yourself, if that feels good. And here's a beautiful Mighty Greens flyer. And then we'll lend our space to Charnel here.
So I guess a little bit about me. I first started out working at Mighty Greens after I learned about MBSYEP, Muriel Bowser, MBSYEP, Muriel Bowser Employment Program. Um, and I was really interested in plants at the time. A lot of my family is in New Jersey, a garden state, so I'm well aware of how to be in a garden. So I've never, so this was like my first time to actually have a job in that thing. And I was only 16 at the time, so this was like my first job really, and I was super excited. And then when I first was actually initiated into the building, everyone was so sweet. Stephanie was very welcoming. It's never hard to have a conversation with her. She's also one of the reasons why I came back after a gap year. um, it's just yeah, it was really welcoming and open space, and it really allowed me to grow in the horticulture space and learn more about the culture around gardening and the and how important it is in POC communities just in general, and offer that second option for food for our people. So yeah, it's really cool. Oh, and my name is Sarana Jeter as a hello.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Sarana. And then Charnel, if you want to share a little bit about your organization and the work you do.
Yes. So I'm Shawnell Cheney, the founder of the Bow Yoga Collective, and we've been around since for about 5 years now. We've been in operation, and Bow Yoga originally started. We didn't start off as a collective. It was just a regular LLC, and it formed after attending a candlelight the 4th of July during the pandemic. An 11-year-old was killed, and it really shook up the community. His mother cries really shook up the community. So we started creating safe spaces for our youth to heal through the different traumas that they experience in the community. And they heal through yoga, meditation, and healing circles, and just being able to shift some of the community norms. And then Building Futures came about 2 years ago, when we were really starting to dive into more of cooperative economics. So being able to create economic opportunities for our youth is something that's really important to us. So yeah, that's a little bit more about me.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that, especially with the youth cooperative work that you've been doing, and also the trauma and enforced healing that you're doing. And then just to start off, I would love to hear I know you talked a little bit about how you got involved within the youth cooperative work, but if you could speak more about what sparked your passion for that, or I know you speak a little bit more about a specific incident. So if you could add more to that, Charnel, if you want to start off.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So I originally learned about cooperatives probably about like 10, 11 years ago when One DC was forming and they had did their call for the child care cooperatives and the grocery cooperatives to community members. And so I went out to see what it was about. So I was able to learn a little bit about cooperatives then. And then fast forward, they was doing like this community survey about what we wanted to see, and we wanted to see more cooperatives. And somebody on a call actually had referred me to Ron class, his Black economics class. So me and another yoga instructor, we took his class, and we learned more. And we started the Honor Hearts Wellness Collective, and it lasted for a few years, but it kind of faded away. And so that's what really drew my passion into cooperative development. And then fast forward, when me and Damien connected at the Wealth Builders Hub, and we were just talking, and he's with Beautify DC. He was doing a lot of the cooperative economics education part of it. That's the other co-founder. And we just was talking about just how we need more cooperative economics, and they need to be learning more about it. So that's my journey.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. Jillian, Isha, if you want to go ahead a little bit.
Yeah, that was so beautiful. And I think for City Blossoms, or for our case, I've learned the most about cooperatives through City Blossoms. And we're always really clear about distinguishing between City Blossoms as our nonprofit, which is not a cooperative, although we are a very a workplace that takes care of the whole person and prioritizes staff. But Mighty Greens is the youth-led cooperative portion, and it is supported through the Youth Entrepreneurship Cooperative Program or model. And I'll say now we're going to say YEC for short, for Youth Entrepreneurship Cooperative, because it's a real mouthful. But this differentiation allows us to present on the YEC model as something that's replicable and hopefully has tangible tools that support others in engaging youth in co-ops. And that also allows for Mighty Greens to be its own business where youth staff have that sense of autonomy. They're driving their brand. They are now a recognizable brand. Um, and just wanted to make that clear from the onset, and happy to answer any follow-up questions as they come up. But the origin of the YEC model and how City Blossoms got its start in cooperatives is really just, it came out from a series of questions of what would it look like? What would happen if youth had this green space that they had resources to make decisions about and invest in themselves and have a mission aligned, values aligned business. And it started with just conversations about what they were seeing in their community, what felt important to them, what felt salient, what they were passionate about. And that led to now a year-round business where I think this past year harvested over a ton of produce, some of which went to farmers markets for sale, and also a lot of which went back to community members because food access was huge. And so that piece was just really the experimenting and just seeing what it looks like with different youth coming through the program and how that program can be sustainable over time. And we've seen it's very successful, and we have a resource here to encourage others to get their start as well. Isha, anything you want to add?
Yeah, so I've been working with youth ages like preschool age to high school on and off for probably the past 10 years, which is kind of crazy to think about. But I recently started getting more into the environmental education part of it the past like 2 years. But this is also my first introduction to the cooperative method, but I think it's been really amazing for students. I think it's been able to give them a lot of autonomy and just like empower them to make their own businesses going forward, or at least like make decisions about their future that are well informed. And yeah, it's been a really great model, and I'm sure we'll expand on it a little bit during this presentation or during this panel.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Jillian. Yeah, so all of you have mentioned how getting youth involved is such an important part of it, giving them autonomy, giving them the ability to make their own choices. So I really want to understand why youth participation is so important, or how are cooperatives giving them the autonomy to make their own decisions, specifically the youth entrepreneurship cooperative model.
Yeah, definitely. Here's where we were hoping to tee Sarana up with a video. If we can watch that super quickly, and then we can hear from one of our school garden coordinators and another youth staff. And then I know Sarana has lots of great stories about why this is important.
Yeah, let me go ahead and share that video with you real quick. Sorry, just give me a sec. Kind of.
What is Mighty Greens? Mighty Greens is a youth-led co-op that is showing our kids how to be entrepreneurs. I'm Kyle Williams. I'm the in-school suspension coordinator at Eastern Senior High School, and I'm also the garden director. They aren't just having time in the garden. They aren't just watering. They are real life business owners. They are picking out what they want to grow. They're looking at the prices of the things that they will grow and comparing them to what's in the grocery store. They planning to where we're going to plant, what we're going to plant, what kind of companion plants, what we can't plant next to each other. Mighty Greens is awesome. I won't lie, the way I discovered Garden Club was through our community service hours at first, but over time, I actually did fall in love with it. If there was no community service hours, I would still be here consistently because it's so peaceful and it's a place where you can go, besides the mosquitoes. Like you got golden miracles over there, or you got the lavender over there. It smells really good, really nice, and it keeps me engaged knowing that you're feeding them and they're gonna eventually grow to help you too. This space is for everyone. Cafeterias to eat, classes to learn, hallways or to walk. But this safe space is for you to be you. It's a real connection between like plants and yourself. When you feed them and then they like feed you afterwards, how I water plants and these gonna grow to make a beautiful bouquet or growing a beautiful peppers or pumpkins or watermelons or whatever we're growing is pretty healthy environment and everybody get a say so, everybody get a word and we put our ideas together that can amplify it times 10 if it was just by itself. Gardening for me has taught me growth, and it's imperative that we teach the youth to grow, and not only just plants though, ideas, dreams. Like growth is real. We want kids to grow up, but we aren't teaching them how to grow. Growth takes time and preparation, and thought, and understanding and comprehension, cohesiveness, and consistency. Because you could plant that pepper plant, and if you don't come back in the allotted time, it will be no pepper plant. It will cease to exist. It's definitely not easy. You got water. You can't just come in here planting around. You actually got to de-stem it and then pack it and then do this and that. It's hard work, but it pays off. Whether you want to look at it from the money aspect, the visual aspect, the food aspect, the help aspect. So with consistency and love, anything can flourish. It is going to be one of the best feelings when you do finally leap and that hard work pays off. And we put an eggplant, grilling the eggplants, man. We put mumbo sauce on eggplants in the city. You feel me? It's different. It's different.
If you're serious about doing well on the LSAT, like this is the way. Yeah, I mean, it really like changed my life.
I got a 170. I got a. All right. Thank you so much for sharing that. That was beautiful.
Yes, that was.
Experience.
It gave a really good insight to how important Mighty Greens is to the people, just in general. Even the youth inside the cooperative. And to pretty much build on to what he was saying in the video, you feel like you actually are helping. Like you actually feel like you are a part of something bigger when you work with Mighty Greens. Like whether it's to making the bouquets beautiful, pricing the tomatoes, making sure they're none of them are unripe or rotten, or if they're fit for even if they're even if they even look good enough to be put on the market. Because I'll admit I've put away a couple of tomatoes that looked a little too ugly, but that's the responsibility of being a corporation. Like you don't want to you want to let the people know that you that you feel like you're important to this, like that the people are important to us. Um, and on top of that, it also gives people the experience of being behind the cash register. For a lot of the people that were at Mighty Greens, it was their first job. Like they didn't know how to work a cash register. Even the talking to the people aspect of it is very daunting. And working here helped me be more outspoken.
Mhm.
And you can talk to a lot more people outside, even in your group, you know, building off of their ideas. It's like you're not alone in this. Um, we've had a lot of business chats of debating on whether the prices are too high or if they're too low, because we still want to make a profit. We still want to help the people in our job so we can afford the luxuries like bug spray. And that's one of the things that you are building towards as a cooperative. So that's really cool.
Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
sharing that, Sarah. Yeah, that gives really great insight also into how like the cooperative model, like hearing from someone who has worked in the cooperative as a youth staff member. I think that's great. Thank you so much for sharing that. And then I really wanted, after like looking at the video and talking to Sarana, um, I want to get into why you believe it's so important. I know like we throughout the video we talked about it, but from your personal perspective, why is the youth entrepreneurship cooperative model so important for like the results that we're seeing within? Sarana, if you also want to add, feel free to add. I don't know if you heard my question.
Can you repeat the question, please?
Yeah, sorry. I was just saying why you personally believe, especially even when it comes to like personal growth, how has the youth cooperative entrepreneurship model really done that compared to like a regular business model? Or what principles has it instilled within you? Hopefully that's not too long of a question.
That was perfect. I'm gonna go after.
Charnel, if you want to go ahead first then.
Yes. So I know for us, we were working with high-risk youth. So we did a lot of like conflict resolution classes that taught them how to work together. They did them learning how to make decisions together, being able to um, use their democracy to be able to make decisions, I think was is really important for them because a lot of times they're coming from communities where they're not a part of none of the decisions that's being made for them. So them being a part of it, it was definitely empowering to watch, especially when they would have to go, like when they did the Martin Luther King parade and they was figuring out who was going to do what and where they was going to go and who was going to set up where, just to watch them actually display some of the skills that they were learning was very also empowering for me. But personally, I just really truly believe like that autonomy and the decision making on things that they normally wouldn't have the decision making on was very empowering for them. It's very empowering for them and it makes them feel more involved in community as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think being involved in community is all like what it's about.
Mhm.
Yeah, I can speak a little bit to what we were or what I was involved with the summer youth employment program and during the school year. But over the summer, we hosted I think it was a 6-week program for students. So I don't know if any of y'all are familiar with the SYP program, but This summer we took on 18 students, and basically it's like a summer job. So they work with us for the summer, and they participate in their business. But at the start of the program, I think it was probably the first week, we went through and made a bunch of community agreements that were kind of modeled after what we've done in past summers, but were also made by the youth. And I think trying to do that so early on was really useful because like most of the students came in not knowing each other at all. They come from totally different backgrounds. And just like putting that foundation down at the start was really nice. Like it's mostly just like respect each other, or like we want to make sure that all of our voices are heard, and like you all of this cooperative like equally like no one is better than the other person, and you all are doing the same amount of work. And I definitely second what Charnel was saying of like it gives them so much autonomy to be part of a cooperative, and it especially students that haven't been able to like make decisions for themselves. Um, and yeah, I think it helped give them like a chance to really like speak their mind and say what they're thinking, or just like be in a judgment-free environment, which is really just like so important. And I think over the summer, like we saw a lot of the students grow together, and like kids that didn't get along at the beginning, like they started
Yes.
becoming friends with each other. And I think Sarana also is such a great person to bring to this panel because um, she always does a great job of like including everyone. And I think being like a Mighty Greens alum, like she's really been great about being inclusive and like making sure that it's a safe space for everyone.
Thank you for sharing that. Jillian, if you want to add.
Everyone has touched on such beautiful things. I think for me also, and for us, we speak to it in the manual. But like in terms of why cooperatives for the YEC model and new spaces, it definitely is drawing on history of cooperatives, especially just as a mechanism for economic independence and social mobility. So just having that powerful history to draw on is really grounding, and it brings to life all of these opportunities that we're hearing about of having that collective decision making and practicing conflict resolution and things that very much will come up in the day to day in life all the time, and just being better equipped, and also along the way learning how to grow their own food in our specific instance, and share that with community is just really huge. And yes, Sarana, if there's anything you want to add on why we're passionate about it and why it's been impactful, feel free.
Yeah, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, it's cool. I honestly wouldn't know where to begin because all part of it, I was just blown away, you know? Um, yeah, I mean, so sorry. I'm like a little tongue-tied.
No worries.
Um, but yeah, everything about it was very it honestly made me want to become a master gardener. One of the more impactful things of City Blossom, you know? Um, and yeah,
Thank you so
the
much for
people,
sharing
And
that.
if I could
more importantly.
add something to that too, I think also too, a lot of times giving them the option to being able to explore what they like. Like I love the fact that she's saying like, oh, now I want to be a master gardener. Like if she didn't have the opportunity to experience that, she wouldn't know that. So it also gives our kids just opportunities that they wouldn't normally have. So yeah.
Exactly. I think, yeah, like with the youth cooperative model, I do think it gives people the opportunity to delve into something that maybe they didn't have the opportunity to go into or explore before. And with that, I really want to move into the next question, in which, as like someone looking from the outside, the first question that really comes to mind, especially working with youth, it's like it's really hard to get kids engaged or teenagers engaged. What are certain strategies that have worked for you to get them into like the cooperative model specifically, or certain things that you've taught them, or certain ways that have worked for you for someone who like maybe might be getting into a youth cooperative model? What has worked for you to get them engaged?
If you want me to go first, I can go first. So our model was actually broken down into three phases. And the first phase was just like healing and education. So teaching them about their history, about and a lot of them, to be honest, didn't know that their history started before enslavement because, in schools, they're not teaching it, and in some households, they're not talking about it. So being able to go back, and like I said, we did, like our first 8 months was this just like therapy, yoga, Reiki, introducing them into different ways to cope to their trauma so we could get to a place of them actually obtaining the information. And then the second phase was more like life skills and learning about business and like them deciding which business they wanted to create. And then the last phase was them learning about cooperatives. So, and we also stipend to youth. So they was able to get stipends while they were participating throughout the whole time. So that was a great incentive for them. And so the stipends brought them, of course, in the room and allowed them to like engage. But once they were in there, it was like even when we couldn't pay them for their stipends, they were still showing up. So it's like once you in there, it's like, okay, I see the benefit of it, and you just want to stick with it.
That's so real. The incentive to start and then the sticking with it. I think we heard the same thing in the video, and that so much of that for us is about like really being intentional about cultivating the safe space, both the physical space, which in our case is a garden, a greenhouse, where cookouts happen in the spring on Fridays, and the youth know they can go there and do homework, work on something, get their community service hours, because that is the buy-in for our students a lot of times in the beginning. And then we also have a stipend that's paid out based on the hours worked. So there's that as well, both the monetary stipend and the service piece, and just that it is fun and somewhere they want to be. And with that too, our program model, during the school year, it runs after school out of two high schools, and it's drop-in. So that's been really key for us of meeting youth where they're at, just recognizing that, youth are also whole persons with lots on their plate, family responsibilities, maybe other jobs, academic responsibilities, extracurriculars, all the things. So having that flexible structure and also having routines in place so that people are able to drop in, know they sign in, know that they have options to choose, and also know that they have probably returning Mighty Greens Youth staff members who can help coach them. That's been really having the peer-to-peer coaching moments. It helps the sustainability of the program, which we always really encourage as well. And that also comes with like taking stock of who's already doing work, who's already engaging youth, who can we tap into and align and bring in cooperative principles and practice some of those things. And yeah, we already spoke about just the intentional and joyous culture that we built through community agreement setting. So those are some of the main strategies, and there's so many more that we'll definitely touch on. Anyone else wants to add?
Yeah, there are definitely lots of incentives to having students come to our programming, but I definitely agree it can be tough to keep the engagement high. But I think, especially over the summer, we learned that like having really hands-on activities or like working with the youth and figuring out what time of day is best for them to work because it gets so hot in the summer was really helpful. And also during the markets, like there are so many different jobs you can have, like based on your comfort level. And like students aren't reprimanded if they don't want to do like a full speaking role or if they don't want to be a cashier if like math isn't their strong suit. So I think it's just like having all these options is really good for them and like shows them that they have a choice and they don't just have to do like what everyone else is doing and they like have different strengths that are like still equally as important. And I think with our after school programming, I feel like what keeps them coming back is like our amazing teachers that we partner with. I think during programming, they're also able to have access or at least like access to information about different organizations in DC, that they can be involved with, like especially our older students that are applying for college, like they're looking for letters of recommendation or like ways to buff up their resume. and we're able to like give them resources that we have and like give them opportunities. And I think that also just like builds buy-in and trust with these students because a lot of them have been coming back for like 2 or 3 years now. I think as long as the manager Stephanie's been around and she's built like a great connection with these students too.
Yeah, absolutely. And then also, I want to get to know more about how specifically is it building mentorship? I know, Isha, you mentioned like with college programs or letters of rec, stuff like that. How does it exactly build mentorship with having someone overlooking the work that you're doing and also having people who are the same age as you, around the same age group, and working with them almost like building a community? How is that building mentorship also on like a human level?
Yeah, I think for students that are in high school age, it's like such a like complicated formative time. And just having someone that's like in your corner and is like understanding the best ways to support you is so important, especially when they have like been with you for a couple years. I think a lot of like what we try to work on like during SYP and during the school year is also just like building confidence for students to be like, okay, actually I can like do whatever anyone can do like with the resources I have. Like I have the autonomy to like apply to the same things that maybe someone with more resources is applying to. Like I don't need to be worried that I'm not like good enough. And I think that like we're here as like teachers and mentors to tell them that they are like just as smart and work just as hard. Um,
Mhm.
and they deserve to have the same opportunities as anyone else. So I think it's just like sometimes it's just being there and like being some like an ear and just listening to them that is like really important for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the youth cooperative model apps does that. And Jillian, and also Charnel, would you like to add to that also to what Isha said?
What was the question?
How is it building mentorship specifically, like on a human level as well, apart from
Hmm.
just like the business model or like teach instilling within them like business ethics, but also like on a human level, how is it building mentorship within the kids?
Oh yeah, for sure. So we have a youth manager, which is her name is LaShawn Johns, and she was like the youth direct contact. So anything that would be going on with them, they would contact her, and then we would meet as a team, and then we would address it with the youth. So we would kind of almost in a way too, it was like co-parenting with parents, holding them accountable for how they was doing in school, how they were doing at home. So it definitely it goes outside of the program. Like, yeah, we meet with them program hours, but we are also guiding them and connecting them to other opportunities. Like when we visited Sukima Oak, some of the ones that were 18 were able to get security jobs. A couple other youth got pulled in to sell oil. So like as we were bringing them out to community events, just showing them how to really engage with community all the way around the board. It was empowering. So yeah, you mentor them all the way inside and outside of the program.
Jillian, if you want to add anything.
Yeah, that was beautiful. Before I answer, I was gonna ask if Sarana wanted to share any takeaways and mentors. As Isha said, Sarana has, grown into such an amazing mentor as someone who's returned for a second time for the summer program.
I don't know if I would call myself a mentor because everyone, I wasn't really like above anyone to teach them anything, but it was good to grow with them. Um, like I know one of the people that I worked with, Milos, they had a harder time communicating with the customers, so I actually gave them pointers on like basic talking points that I brought up for the customers, like compliments or small talk, and guided into the pricing of the fruits. Um, so and then like further along, I noticed Milos putting themselves more into the into communicating with the customers. And even if it got too overwhelming, swapping wasn't no problem. We had enough people to pick up the slack where it was, and there was no loose end with us. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yes.
Yeah, and I would just echo the teamwork and just really setting those agreements at the start and having that democratic decision making and continuing to just exercise those muscles of working together as a team and engaging this collective. I think that naturally lends itself to, youth taking away all of these lessons and successes and seeing themselves as experts in their business
Mhm.
from going through that.
Thank you. Yeah, and then I would also love to hear from, especially like since schools are where a lot of the times kids are getting engaged in and working, how can schools or youth programs engage or let people know more about youth cooperative entrepreneurship, and get them involved in youth leadership and co-op leadership? What are specific programs they can do? How can they support you?
So we have an incredible group of teachers that we work with. So we have one that we work with at Cardozo High School and then one at Eastern Senior High School. But I do believe that like our amazing recruitment is because of these teachers. Like the students, they come because they already have a built relationship with them. Like this year, I think that we were able to maybe even like double recruitment at Cardozo. And these are kids that aren't just coming once, like they're coming consistently. So I think building a connection with the schools is like so important. And a lot of times they do that by like handing out flyers, like simple things like sending out an email every so often, or like telling them that like, hey, I know you need community service hours to graduate. Like, this is a great way to do it. And you might even get some extra money on the side if you stay long enough. And I think that that kind of incentive is like enough for them to keep on coming back. And like we saw in the video, like they keep coming back even when like we have so many students that they already have all their hours and they're like juniors. So they don't actually need to come to our program to graduate. They just want to come because like they've made all their friends here or it's just like a peaceful place where they can like hang out. I think for high schoolers, right now and like kind of always like having a third space is like third spaces aren't always accessible to them and having a third space that is like based around a garden and just like kind of being at peace has been really helpful and I think draws kids in like every single day.
Mhm. So for us, we're not in the schools. We're directly in the community, but it's something that we definitely want to take into the schools. And I definitely think just like more info sessions, more co-op 101 sessions that we can have with schools, I think would be super dope. I know they said that they just have like a one or two people to recruit, but that's cool too, even if it's like a paper that we could send out. But I think just giving us they've been around a little longer, but giving us all like the platform to be able to talk about cooperatives to the youth and to other organizations so they can understand how to like implement something or even duplicating the model that y'all have created at City Blossoms would even be a good way to promote cooperative economics amongst youth. And maybe we can combine them or something. And that would be a good idea. Have a whole manual, youth from all different backgrounds.
I'm on the same wavelength. I was also just gonna say like tapping into the existing network, I think is the best way to strengthen those pathways. Like Isha said, the school garden coordinators that are in the schools, they like know the strategies that work best to meet the youth where they're at and recruit and also not just support them through the YEC program, they also have connected that workforce development after graduation so that after Mighty Greens there's options and we do a lot of that foreshadowing by bringing in other experts doing field trips visiting one another and knowledge sharing that's always key because just seeing the options that are out there and then being in the room together and just chatting about co-ops and what we're learning what we're doing here like we're doing today is definitely the way to go.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. And then what would you say are financial barriers that are stopping youth members to create a cooperative, or what are like certain barriers that are stopping them from getting to know more about the YEC model from your personal experiences?
I think
Um,
all of our students were introduced to this model like through our programs. So I feel like it's just like not something that they really learn about at school. And I think it's just like more effective to introduce these models through a program that they already like or like through people that they already trust.
mm,
But yeah, I think that they just it's not really something that they like witness in real life. And I think that at least like some of the students I've talked to, they were like introduced to it a little bit more in college, but I think like high school age and younger, it's just not something that they really talk about.
Mhm. And you said what was the financial, what was, can you repeat that question for me?
Yeah, so what are certain barriers, whether they're financial, whether they're social, from preventing kids from learning more about youth cooperatives?
Yeah. So I know with our Building Futures, we centered that around cooperative education just because we really believe in it and we really wanted more people to know about cooperative education. But that a part of the reason why we wanted to stipend the kids also is because a lot of the kids are coming from impoverished communities. And so being able to like come in and sit down and learn, and we also provided food for them as well because they were coming in hungry or, needed money just for day-to-day stuff. So I think when you don't have that financial part connected to it, it is harder for the kids to engage. It is harder for them to even think about starting a business or being an entrepreneur because it's like, where we gonna get the money from? How we gonna do this? So even in our budget, when we did apply for money, like we had put in money for their equipment once they decided they wanted to do a t-shirt company. So we was able to buy their hats and their mugs and um we bought them 2 t-shirt machines, a bunch of t-shirts, so they can at least have something to start off with. And the stipends also help them to be able to not spend the money so quickly as they were like, as they sell the shirts and they make the shirts like, okay, we don't have to go and spend the money directly after it. So we still trying to find a model that do work though, because again, once they exit out the program, they'll be still pushing the cooperative, but they won't be receiving the stipends. So how do we sustain it after we're no longer with them is still something we try and figure out. But mainly while they're in the program, we definitely felt like the financial piece is super important.
And I've been nodding enthusiastically. I definitely agree with a lot of the just like meeting the basic needs and then offering that space. Because like I said at the beginning, Mighty Greens isn't a registered business, a registered cooperative. But it is a business on training wheels where the youth have the ability to see financial documents, make decisions, invest money, and they have the supports and the things that they need to show up at programming and have their business meetings, go to market, but things that are related to their business, they're making decisions about those things, because we understand, like, I know, like you said, the first question is how are we going to get the money to, make this dream happen? So that's why the YEC program exists, so that youth can, roll through Mighty Greens and learn and experiment, and without, having that be their financial burden, and necessarily like having that be their career, that's their one shot, but instead they have this opportunity to take measured risks and make informed decisions and learn from one another. And Star, I definitely invite you to add anything if you'd like. Hopefully that captured some of that.
To actually build on Charnel, Isha, and you, a lot of the issue with putting themselves out there is the trust. Like I said earlier, I only got into MBSYP because my friend was already in it. I didn't really learn it from any of my counselors. Um, and if I got an email about it, phishing emails exist. So I'm like, ugh. But really having that physical person be that's educated on the program, on the youth employment program, really does a lot. Um, I can't speak more. I can't speak on the financial part because it was pretty easy to get into the Mighty Greens, just a bus right away from me. Lucky, right? Um, but yeah, just having that person in your corner goes a long way in terms of putting yourself out there and into the programs. Yes.
And sorry, just out of just to let people know, Sarana, if you could let us also know how you found out about Mighty Greens and City Blossoms, like personally through your personal experience.
So, I actually went to the the employment portals. Um, went to the employment building physically, and that's where I met Stephanie and a former fellow, Nico. And they told me all about the horticulture, the plant-based business that they were growing, and I was really excited because I was a new gardener. I was like, oh, I actually get paid to play in dirt. That's awesome. So immediately got into it. That was like one of the top three choices that I had, and I was crossing my fingers like, please let me be able to go into Mighty Greens. And yeah, like that was pretty much my origin story. First a friend hooked me up, and then got into the car ride to go to the building, and then I met two awesome people that roped me into it. So yeah, people are everything.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And then to move forward, when we go into the whole cooperative model, how is this specifically building financial literacy within the youth? Um, and I would love to hear from your personal experience as well through personal stories that you've seen with the youth. How is this empowering them through financial literacy? Charnel, if you want to go ahead and start.
Sorry, I was trying to unmute myself. So for us, we actually had like somebody come in and do financial literacy classes. She is a realtor. She started doing financial literacy classes with youth. And then we had Capital One also come in and do some financial literacy classes. So our youth, it was from 15 to 18. So like some of our 18-year-olds didn't have bank accounts. They didn't know what it was to start up a bank account. So them learning like what does that look like and what all they need is their ID. Definitely was empowering them in their financial literacy and just understanding how money works. We also had someone come in and just talk to them just about like the business side of money, just like the profit and the loss, and so them just understanding how the numbers work. And then they was able to say like, oh no, this is not, I don't want to be on that team. I don't want to be on the sales team. I want to be on the design team. So it also helped them like know their strengths. Like they're learning it, but it's like, oh, that's not my strength.
We also had someone come in to talk about financial literacy, which was really useful, honestly, for me too. I was like, I need to learn some of this stuff too for myself. But yeah, the at the beginning of our summer program and also throughout the year at our high schools, we talk about finances a lot because like we're having markets all the time, or we're having seedling sales in the spring. And I think it makes them think a lot more about like, why are we pricing things the way we are? Like they have to look online and like do research about like how much do our tomatoes going for right now? Because then they get to the market and they're like kind of competing with a bunch of other stalls that are selling like similar stuff to them. Um, and it's been interesting to see like how they decide on pricing or like what kind of marketing they end up going with. But we've had a lot of very spirited discussion about how to price like our products, like our seasoning salt and our teas. And I think it also just helps them like understand how much work goes into making these products.
Mhm.
Um, I know for me, like learning when I was starting to learn about like how much time and effort it took to like grow everything and then like harvest and package, like that's a lot of work that goes into it. And you should be pricing things so that you're still making a profit and like your hard work is like you're getting paid for the amount of work you're doing. And that's like important in this context. That's important in like every context, especially like in other jobs when they're moving out of SYEP, when they're doing jobs in real life and just like
Mhm.
they need to be compensated for the amount of work they do, and they need to understand like they like work so hard, like they deserve to get the amount of money back that they should. And I think it helps them like become a bit more confident and get paid what they're worth.
Mhm. And then I think I would add to that, one of the things that the youth came up was like a kitty. And it was for if while we're building a business, if one of us run into a financial problem or if we got hungry siblings at home, like we can borrow from the kitty and pay it back. So when they came up with that, I even kind of adopted that for my own cooperative. I was like, that's actually a good one. So I was actually learning from them as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think some of our students were thinking about doing similar stuff over the summer. Like if they didn't want their stipend that they get for Mighty Greens, like we had one of our students that was like, okay, I don't want it. Like I want to put it back in the big like pool that gets split between everyone. So it is sweet to see them want to take care of each other by the end of the program.
I love what everyone has shared already. And the other piece I'll add, just because City Blossoms has gone through so much trial and error and learned so many lessons in paying youth, that piece really does, literally connect our youth to access to capital. So in the manual too, we have lots of like questions to consider and just steps to take before, handing money over to minors because, if they are under 18, it can affect their family's tax situation, whoever claims them as a dependent. So we're really transparent and upfront and communicative about what money might be coming in, what form it might be coming in. And we do currently pay out our stipends using checks. So like Chanel said, that does involve like connecting with banks, and that can be a really great strategy too to like bring in specialists to like have those trainings and also have employment conversations and have all of those pieces be in one. So definitely always here to chat more about key components to paying youth and why we err away from paying in cash or using gift cards, things like that. But that is just definitely something we try to be really smart and intentional about ahead of engaging.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. And then also in terms of like the administrative level, what are certain financial barriers that people can go through while when they're trying to get into the YEC model or trying to get to know more about cooperatives that you might have come across personally as well, with Mighty Greens and also building futures with Charnel. If you want to start off and speak about your personal experiences.
So you said, what is the financial barriers to learning about cooperatives?
Financial barriers that someone who's trying to get into cooperatives like you personally went through, they might go through, how can they overcome them or try, or what resources are there to help them?
Yeah. So I know with us, we had did like an interest meeting, and so being that I already do partner with different nonprofits, I was able to send it out to them. And we did have to pay for like Ubers to them get into the space, so for them to be able to learn about what we were going to be doing. Of course, again, food. So I think the financial barriers is just them being able the transportation piece and being able to get back and forth to wherever they need to be.
Yeah, and I think for us too, to frame it from the other end, I think there's a lot of strength in like starting small and like balancing capacity and really taking stock and assessing what resources are available and who else is doing the work similar to what you said. So like connecting folks who are already engaged at some level and leaning on each other to support. But I think what can happen is taking on a little bit more than we can chew, and that can feel like a barrier when things start tumbling ahead, especially when we're engaging youth. We want to be really set up for success and be clear about what parameters are. So in the case of Mighty Greens as a cooperative, obviously with schools, there's a lot of turnover year by year, but they're not starting from ground zero every year. There's the general like brand and name and mission, and obviously within that, they're making all of their choices on how they want to carry out that business. But that could also be a setback. You know, if we're not clear about what we can and cannot make decisions about, there can be a lot of like start and stop in that business, like measured decision making, risk taking process.
Yeah, I think the timing of and like organization is really important, and you can definitely feel it when like you're in a time crunch and you're trying to make all these products, and you have to order everything, and you have to make sure that you have enough herbs and that your plants aren't dead. So there definitely are some barriers in that way, and then just kind of things that you can't control, like the weather, like if it's too hot and like all your plants get burnt and you can't use them anymore. But yeah, I feel like I've stepped into a model that has been going for a couple years, so I haven't had to see the struggle as much.
Mhm.
But I do feel like it feels like every year it gets a little bit stronger, and there's like just like an influx of different students that are bringing in more ideas and just like more connections with other organizations to have support. Um, but yeah, I think those are my thoughts about the cooperative.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I could add one or two more things. So I know another financial barrier for them is like being able to reorder t-shirts and get more equipment. You know, if they, because they're not making the amount of money that they need to be making to like reorder stuff and all of that, sometimes that could be also be a financial barrier. And us being paid to to actually continue to work, because a lot of the work we haven't been paid for, so we want to be able, that's also a financial barrier.
I don't remember if Jillian already mentioned this, but for like the Mighty Green paychecks that they get for markets, they are always putting like every year they're putting in money back into the business, which I think has been really helpful. You get
Hmm.
like 80% of the paycheck and then 20% goes back in the business. So then every year like you're earning more money because they're not using all the money that's like in the reserves. But they can use it for stuff like you said, like t-shirts or like new jars to put their products in, or just like bug spray or fans.
Hmm.
For me, I feel like that has been really helpful to decrease the risk too um, of like just making and losing money. Like it's not their own paycheck that they're losing. Like
Right.
they always have some kind of like buffer.
I like that.
Thank you. And I think that also goes to show like how deeply rooted they are within the community as well, and how I think that really goes to show also how they are an active member of the community and how that instills those values within them. So thank you for sharing that. And then I would love to go deeper into how can we ensure that youth from Black and Brown communities, low income communities, that they're given proper access to learning more about cooperatives and also engaging them within cooperatives. What are certain steps that are being taken and what can be done to make sure that they're given equal access as well?
Yeah. Well, I know I'm new to the youth cooperative scene. So I definitely though, so we plan on like exiting our youth in January, then we want to start a new cohort. And we do something called the Week of Healing. And so like one of those days it'll be like healing from poverty. And we will talk about cooperatives in that on that day. Or um yeah, we was trying. We want to definitely want to do more. That's why I was telling, Julian and them that we want. I would love to partner more so we can have an actual youth cooperative movement. Because I don't think it's the actual movement yet. It's like we both been trying to get our feet wet, figuring out what work, what don't work, and now that we have a little bit more expertise, then maybe we can push it a little harder. Start a movement.
Yes, definitely. Oh, you said go ahead.
Yeah, so a ton of our students or most of our students are from Black and Brown communities and marginalized communities. And I think that one thing that Stephanie's done really well over the summer is like incorporating history lessons on like climate justice and environmental justice movements
Mhm.
at the beginning of the program, just to like contextualize and show people that there is like a way to try to combat it, or like there's still hope to like having a healthier future. Um, and we had a really amazing speaker and facilitator come in over the summer every week who did like conflict resolution, and they also took like a great approach to it that was like trauma informed and informed by history and just like the location that we're in. We tried to like contextualize our lessons to be like specific to the areas that we're in. I think that we did a training with one of our other City Blossom staff actually led a training or a training on I can't remember. I think it was food access and like food deserts or food swamps in DC and
Mm.
like how it varies by neighborhood and like what that means for the people that are living there and like how are we able to fix these problems? And I think is also something that's really important is like you can see all this doom and gloom and it really, really sucks, but you also have to give examples of things that work and like things that are actually changing because of work that people are doing on the ground. Um,
Mhm.
but I think that engaging youth in ways that makes them feel like they have like the power to change their future is what like keeps them coming back.
Mhm.
Jillian, if you would like to add anything.
Yeah, one thing I'll add, and I'll pull up a picture here as we talk about different strategies. One main one that City Blossoms uses is definitely like signage and art and finding those nonverbal ways to communicate that all are welcome in this space and that it is a safe space. So you can see we like always bring pops of color into our gardens, and for the youth staff to literally see themselves in the garden, that really helps instill that sense of autonomy and really driving home the point that this garden is theirs, the business is theirs. And then similarly on this next slide, just having routines and structures and things in place where people can walk in and enter and understand that they're, engaging in a cooperative and there are, certain procedures and expectations and they otherwise are welcome. I think that part is key. Thank you for taking a look at our pretty pictures. And then I'll also just add again that our flexible drop-in program structure, that is huge for meeting youth where they're at, and should just take away some of the logistical barriers that we've talked about already, that can prevent access.
Yeah, and earlier I think Charnel made a really good point about like bringing food to students. And I think that's something that is really overlooked sometimes, but like having enough fuel to get through a day of gardening like makes it so much more enjoyable and like safe for students. And some of the schools or one of the schools that we were at over the summer like actually had free meal programs. So
Mhm.
it's like one less thing for kids to have to worry about, like bringing a whole lunch to like Southeast DC or like bringing or like just having something to eat. And for the most part, we had snacks available too, just to like help kids get through the day because they're with us from like 9 a.m. until 3 p.m.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I think that's a really, really great point that she brought up.
Thank you for sharing that. And then what are certain policies or certain supports that can help build youth entrepreneurship? Whether that's on a government level, a local level, whether it comes from like local organizations like NDCC, what can be done to support youth entrepreneurships, cooperatives?
Yes. So I think a earn and learn approach, like really campaigning and advocating for that for our youth to earn stipends while they learn whatever it is that they learn in whatever program that they are. I just think that's just one great incentive. Like we had one mom who had 3 kids in our program and they were getting $100 a week. That was like what, $1,200 going into our household at one time. So it was also helping her as a mom be able to sustain her family. So I just think that, yes, y'all been able to advocate on our behalf for the youth to be able to be incentivized.
Absolutely, and I'll add also on the funding line to fund after school programs and out of school time, and making funding available for youth-centric spaces to be cultivated, so that there are just more opportunities for youth to explore cooperatives and just try it on and see how it fits.
Mhm.
How would you like to add anything, Isha?
I think that they about covered it. I feel like having like the stipend incentive like keeps students around. Um, for a lot of our students, they're coming from like all over DC, so like just making sure that they have enough to even make it to work, like that is something that can like make or break their program or their experience with us. And yeah, a lot of our students like this is like their first job or this is like their main job they're doing. And I think having like the Mighty Green stipend on top of the SYP one makes it so that they can like make financial decisions for themselves and like use it and like save up for things. Like if they want a car, if they want to go to college, like it gives them more opportunities outside of outside of school.
Mhm.
And then as someone looking from the outside, I'm just wondering, like, what are certain difficulties you've had when it comes to getting funding for these stipends? Because they seem like such a large part of the work that you do, and also like such a driving force, because that's how these kids get support, and that's also how your organizations are being supported. So, what are certain difficulties you've had when it comes to getting funding?
So when we first started out, it was difficult for us to get funded because some people know about cooperatives, but it's still a lot of people that don't know. So people was like, okay, what's going on? Then once we got the ball rolling and people were able to see, the Attorney General, they give us some seed money to be able to support them. And then shout out to the Greater Washington Foundation. They had gave us money that was like strictly for youth, so that kind of like loosened up a little bit, and so that money was able to go straight to their stipends and their equipment. Um, and then they awarded us money for 2 years, which again is going straight to their stipends, but it was only like 50K, and most of it is going to their stipends. So we're not getting paid for the work. So we definitely um it's far few in between. It's not a lot of places that are funding that type of stuff. So we want to definitely like bring some advocating and some awareness around that we do need funding for youth cooperatives so that the youth can continue to learn this model.
Yeah, I'll definitely add that like sharing success stories and like capturing what is happening in this moment, and so spaces like this one, they are really helpful. I know in the case of the YEC program, they've been established since around 2014, so they are like built into the schools to some degree, and supported in that sense. But in terms of the payout of the stipend that goes back to the youth, that does vary from season to season. And we have seen how the economy can affect their payout as well. So we do have like very real conversations like Isha and Sarana had alluded to earlier around like how can we reasonably price the tomatoes so that everyone can get a payout. So part of that is part of the process of navigating those challenges as well for us.
Mhm.
Summer, it's definitely difficult because sometimes the days are just like too hot to go outside and harvest, or like markets get canceled because of a storm or something, and that means that like they're losing a couple $100 or like, and then they can't put that back in the business or that really impacts their paycheck. So I think for them it's just like a good way to think about like planning for the future and like planning for like increased heat waves and increased storms and weather. Um, but yeah, that was definitely something that we had to have a couple conversations about over the summer, because then the question is like, do you want to increase your prices, or if you increase them, like does that mean that people won't buy them? Or something that we talked about quite a bit at the beginning was like, what neighborhoods do we want to sell in? And like kids are really honest about like, I think I'm gonna make more money if we go in this neighborhood, where I think that we're going to make less in this one. And um, yeah, it's a lot of planning that goes into it. And um, yeah, I feel like the markets can be tough over the summer, but even during the school year, it's like how many kids are coming to market days? Like, are you able to sell as much if you're not at school, not participating, or like do we even have enough inventory to make this many products? Um, so yeah, it's a lot to think about. And then over the summer, the SYEP stipend comes from the DC government, which is amazing. But it is also tough to work with those numbers because we have no control over how much that stipend is.
Yeah, absolutely. I can totally see how it's very like contingent upon like so many other factors. So I'm sure that's quite stressful. And then speaking on your personal experiences, what has been something that maybe you didn't expect to learn about working in with sorry, let me rephrase that. What's something you didn't expect to learn about youth until you worked within a youth cooperative? Um, I would love to hear more about like the personal experiences as well, or like certain anecdotes that you could share, something that you've learned working about them or their work ethic.
I can go first. I was just really impressed with all of our students. Like when I was in high school, I was definitely way too shy to be doing stuff like this. Like they go through a ton of rejection exposure when they do these like sidewalk sales and markets. And yeah, I'm sure that Sarana can talk a little bit more about her experience during the markets and like what they were able to learn. But I was just really impressed with all the students and like their adaptability.
Mhm.
Um, so like me personally, working this is more of like I guess like the uglier side of being, working I guess for like your first job for real is it's gonna sound a little rude, like a certain level of entitlement with certain people. And it's like, whoa, you don't like come on guys. But that's a part of the growing aspect of it. Like instead of you can't just take 30-minute breaks while the rest of your team is doing the work. So that's also a learn of accountability amongst the crew. Because the people inside the crew are not afraid to say you're not doing enough, you need to do more, get up, right? um and it's it's a little funny to see it go down in like how it works. But it's never, the people call them out are never rude. It's more like constructive criticism, which is very important in a youth-led corporation. um but yeah, that's one of the things that I've noticed that have been very quickly snipped in the butt with us.
Yeah, for us, I would say I was impressed as well. So the very first time they had to go out and sell their t-shirts, like half of them showed up and half of them didn't. And they was mad. They was like, oh no, like how we gonna figure out the money? So them coming back to the program and then like being able to hold circle to talk about what their grievances was, how they felt about, not seeing their other counterparts, and then bringing things into perspective for them. Like, okay, yeah, they didn't show up at this time, but it might be times that y'all don't show up. So how do you want to handle it? Are you going to give them grace? Like, what's what? So, like, giving them that autonomy to make those decisions. And then they had got an opportunity to work at one of the stores down in the national, what is it? No, I want to say Navy Yard, but it's not Navy Yard, the National Harbor. It's a One Love clothing store. So they was able to go in there and learn their customer service skills. He gave them a rack to set up their t-shirts, and they was able to press the shirt. So it was like really dope to just see all the things that they were learning in the class, like them actualize it in real time. So I'm always excited to share their success stories.
Yeah, definitely the youth do not play around with their money. If there's a chance that someone isn't doing work and they're getting paid, like someone's gonna say something about it. Which I think is also where this cooperative model comes in. Like they know that if they're like they all need to do the work to get the paycheck because like they're just splitting it more ways, and they're not going to split it with someone that isn't doing work.
Mm.
So yeah, I like Serrano was saying, people are definitely they voice their opinion. And I think at the beginning it was a lot, like they really changed a lot over the summer. And I think some of the younger kids at the beginning, like maybe hadn't been in a model like that before, and they're just like, well, I'm not gonna like take out the trash, like that's not my trash. But then it's like, okay, if you're not gonna weed right now, like you need to go do something else. And like I think that we try to nudge them like with a loving tone, but at the end of the day, like I think they understand that you need to do the work.
Mhm.
Jillian, if you want to add anything.
Yeah, I love all the answers that came before me. I think for me, I am also like Chanel, just amazed at how they show up for one another. And when they show up for one another, it's always so amazing and inspiring. And I think because in my role, I don't get to be working with the youth staff every day. I'm not running this program. So when we have chances like this to share out about what's going on, I am always so amazed, and it warms my heart to just hear the reflections that are taking place. And I of course know that all these staff are working so hard, but then just amazing staff like Sarana who are able to share that experience out more broadly with the people is always so magical and beautiful.
Thank you for sharing that.
Mhm.
And then Charnel, I also would love to hear more about your experience. I know you've talked more about like spiritual healing. How do you bring that within the youth cooperative model? I'm really curious to hear more about that.
Yes. So, like I said, our first phase of it was really just healing and education, like talking about. So we did like an ACEs test with our kids to see like what was their different levels of trauma, so we knew what we was working with. And so we started off like we meet with them twice a week. So like the first month was like us doing yoga sessions. Then we brought in a therapist. We had some youth that was struggling with some opioids. So we was able to like send them on like a little healing retreat with some shamans that we have. So, with their parental consent, of course. But so that was the way that we kind of incorporated that healing piece, and then we also did like conflict resolution trainings, because that falls in alignment with that too. So that was how we basically incorporated it, because we knew that you know a lot of them didn't have the tools to be able to practice democracy or to be able to make decisions together. So we had to get them in a mindset to be able to do so, because it's just we live in such an individualistic society now, and it's like every man for themselves. So we had to literally do the work to like break them out of that mindset.
Yeah, absolutely. Jillian, Renisha, if you want to add anything.
Yeah, I think that like specifically in the garden, it's such a great environment to teach like um gratitude and patience. Like they come in the beginning of the summer and like stuff is growing, but if they don't keep pruning the tomatoes, like they're gonna go crazy and then they won't have anything to eat later. Um, I think it just like helps them to stop and like think about like or just like be present in the garden and in the space. And it's tough in the summer because it's also like really buggy and there are mosquitoes everywhere when it's 100 degrees. But I think like on it makes like the nice days even better to be outside and like be just like surrounded by like greenery and nature and like free fresh food. Like we had some students who um like even came back after the program was over to like harvest vegetables and fruits for their family, and it was really sweet to see that because like before the program I don't know if they'd ever done anything garden related before. Um but yeah, I think the safe space and just like slowing down is something that is really different from like everyday life for like anyone in high school. Like it's a really tough time, just like trying to figure out how to be an adult and like trying and like being pushed into this when you're like 15 years old. Like it's really tough, but it was really sweet also to just like see them support each other. And I remember this really sweet moment on we took them on a trip to the to Navy Yard on we went on a boat and did like a little tour of the river. And it was really hot and it was really sunny and there wasn't really a lot of shade. But I just remember looking over and just seeing like one student holding up a fan for one of our other students like the whole ride through. And these are kids that like didn't know each other 5 weeks ago and now they're like sitting here taking care of each other without like being prompted. Like they're just doing it because they see that like someone needs help or is like uncomfortable and they want to help out.
Jillian, if you want to add anything.
I couldn't have said it any better.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. And then just because I want to start Q&A soon as well, so we can start wrapping up my questions. Um, I want to hear more about, as we end this conversation, what is your vision for youth cooperatives as we move forward within the next few years? And also throughout the future, like how do you see youth cooperatives becoming such an important and integral part of youth entrepreneurship and youth autonomy?
I'm happy to kick us off
For
with
sure.
the visioning. I think for the YUC program, I mean, speaking to the youth specifically, it's not designed to usher every single student to become a co-op leader, an entrepreneur, a farmer, all of that. But the hope is that if they want to, they know how and they have seen options. And in general, they're just honing skills that are going to be useful and long lasting. One of which, as I mentioned before, includes like being able to grow food that we can eat and take care of ourselves and nourish ourselves with, and our loved ones. So I think that empowering piece is really central to our vision for this next generation, that we have these spaces to cultivate our skills together and learn from each other, and that it is very community centric and responsive to all the needs, and the thoughts and feelings that are happening.
And Charnel or Isha, whoever wants to go ahead.
Yeah. Um, for me, the vision is to, build a little mini ecosystem of youth cooperatives, have more youth be involved. I think it's a great way for us. So again, for the people at the bottom to really band together and create some generational wealth. Especially if you don't come from the traditional family setting to where that can be created. This is just one way to just again instill hope to our youth. So I'm really hoping that we can have more youth cooperatives in the next few years.
Yeah, I really hope that this kind of model, like for our students, has shown them that like jobs and work doesn't have to be like soul sucking. Like it can really be a place where you like,
Yes.
find your people and you find your community and you actually take care of each other. And I feel like when you're in an environment where you're just like go, go, go all the time and like you're just like adrenaline is like always, always high. Like you need a space where you can just like let go and like be yourself. And like while we like SYP is a job, we also want it to be a place where students feel like they can just like relax for a second and like step away from their like real life and just be like themselves and not be scared to be themselves.
And to build on what Isha and Charnel said, it's like, yeah, this becomes a third space for a lot of kids, with the growing, like it's the lessening of third spaces for from preteens and up. Um, a lot of them have no choice but to get jobs as a pastime. So to have a youth led cooperative work work as those two things, a job and a third space, could really make or break that person's future, honestly. um because too often our kids doing way worse things to pass the time, and this becomes a safe environment to grow and to learn how to build a business on your own and be self-sufficient, um and learn to trust others, with yourself, your business, um and put more trust in your community, to build that. So yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. Jillian, if you want to add anything.
think I shared all the thoughts and wishes and hopes I had for the next gen. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And with that, I just want to add that we're open to Q&A. So if you have any questions, feel free to add them in the chat. And we'll take them. And also there's a Q&A function, or if you raise your hand, I can unmute you as well. But yeah, I do see in the chat, Tina saying thank you. Thank you everyone for joining. Until we get questions, or if I don't know if we're gonna have questions, but I would love to hear more from Sarana as well, just because I don't know if she's comfortable, if you want to add anything else, but just like a few questions about how you would say, if you were to encourage someone to get into youth cooperative, someone who is, we talked a bit about like how difficult it is to engage youth, and we heard from everyone's experiences, but like hearing from you as a youth staff member, engaging with people your age, how do you think is a good idea to get people engaged, like people your age, around your age? How would you say is in the world of social media that we live in, how do we get people engaged?
Yeah, social media is a really big one. My friend Monty, they were working with their own fellowship program. They were able to get them into the pipeline. Counselors really help. Um, they give a lot of resources to for youth employment. Um, and like on the side note, schools really should partner more with youth employment programs because I know that my school wanted to do like a gardening club, but we didn't really have a permit one. The means to the area but beside us wasn't really soil rich, um, and we didn't have a lot of resources. So um one of the biggest research, the better research was DC.gov. They have a lot of that's also one of the places where you can find MBSYP and their program to either be to actually be a teacher, I guess, for youth cooperatives, for employment, um, and just like talk to the adults around you because more often than not they will have resources to point you to, um, and will more often than not encourage you to go to these places, you know. So it's really helpful to talk to your trusted adults, counselors, and yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing that.
Thank you for asking.
I don't see any questions in the chat. So I would love to hear like your closing remarks. If you have anything you want to share, any resources, anyone who's wanting to get into cooperatives, how do you get into them? What are certain resources that helped you as individuals?
Yeah, I just want to say to Sarona, like you were so great tonight. You were so inspiring. Like you were just it.
Thank
I
you.
just want you to know that.
Thank you. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
This was my first webinar, so I was really like, I have to
You did
lock in. I
great.
really want to like
Oh yeah,
be a good speaker.
you were magnificent. I want you to know
Thank
that.
you.
You're welcome.
And I just want to say that all of you guys did really good too. I feel like I learned a lot more from being one of the panelists here. Oh, I didn't know we could do that. Because
Yeah.
as one of the, not a what's it, cooperative leader, it's like, whoa. Because I'm trying to become a fellow myself with Mighty Greens or City Blossom. So learning the little things, it's like, whoa.
Mhm.
I feel a little more prepared to be a fellow, you know?
Well, yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
I would say to any resources. I mean, I attended Ron Han's Blackonomics class. You have to have at least two people to attend the class if you're interested and you want to learn. It was super informative and very empowering and inspiring to take his class. And I do know that sometimes they have like convenings. BCI have some convenings. Sometimes they have it like a solidarity network. I don't know of all the resources. And then they have the Wealth Builders Hub. They meet twice a month, every second and fourth Friday, I think it is. But yeah, those are pretty much all the resources that I know of.
Thank you for sharing them.
Could you like leave those resources in the chat? Because I would love
Okay,
to read more about that. Oh my gosh.
okay.
And I can share a
You
little
said
bit.
Ron.
Actually,
Yes.
Ron is he's
Yes, I need
I
to
think
bring
he
book.
joined as well. But I can also share the link to the Black Co-opnomics Academy that NDCC we host in the spring and the fall. So right now we're concluding our fall series. But it's we teach cooperative principles and it's like around a 12-week program. So like Charnel said, I can definitely share resources as well. And I know Ron is also trying to get more into the youth as well to get them more engaged. And then also NDCC's website, you can feel free to get to know more about us. And if you want, you can connect with us as well. We would love to. It was great hearing you today, Sarana.
Mhm.
Thank you. That's awesome. Whoa. My brain's expanding. Trust.
And then Charnel and Isha, if you want to add anything, any resources that you might know. I know you shared a few things in the chat.
Yeah, I think Jillian might have sent it already. I'm not sure, but we do have there it is, the Youth Entrepreneurship Cooperative Manual, which has a ton of information about youth cooperatives or youth-led cooperatives. So if you're thinking about starting your own, definitely refer to that manual. But my experience so far with this kind of model has been really great. I've loved the kids that we worked with. Saran has been amazing, and I'm so glad that she could come to this panel with us. I think she has like such a wealth of knowledge and just is like an amazing speaker and yeah, has a ton of great experience that she brings to this space. But yeah, I'll pass it over to Jillian to talk a little bit more about resources.
Bread and butter of it all. Thank you for teeing up the YAC manual. We do hope that people share it broadly and find it useful as just a starting point. And we're always here for questions. My email is just my name, Jillian at City Blossoms. And I'm sure we'll share it out at the end as well. And I'm also gonna add in here another link. This goes to a landing page on the US Botanic Gardens website. And if you scroll down, you'll find recordings for a 4-part webinar series that we did in collaboration with USBG and the Farm-Based Education Network. And that series was focused on youth-led garden and farm-based business projects. So not all cooperatives, but they are youth-centric. And a lot of them did implement similar tools and definitely all very grassroots and community centric. So definitely recommend checking those out. And they're available in English and Spanish as well. So those are the main things that come to mind for me. And in general, we just hope people stay connected with City Blossoms and follow Mighty Greens and find them at holiday markets and buy their lovely value-added products before they quickly sell out, as they often do.
Yes. I think I just wanted to offer a suggestion for NDCC. Being that I know they lead a lot of the convenings that's happening. Maybe for next year we could do a youth-led one. So where we're introducing more youth to cooperatives and then we're allowing the ones who've been a part to kind of like share their stories and talk about what's what. I know earlier that was like one of the questions was one of the ways y'all can support us. But I think that would be a great way.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if Ron, I know he joined, but I don't know if he is able to speak more. But yeah, absolutely. I know we're currently looking into that as well, and we kind of explored that idea with Jillian and Willa the other day, and we're definitely looking to expand into that. So it's been great to like go into this. Oh, there's Mr. Ron. If you want to speak more about our experiences working with youth, and I also want to go ahead and thank everyone before we end today. Like everyone did such a great job. Serona, thank you so much for coming. I know it's really daunting to speak in front of a lot of people. I know I could not have done that when I was young. But yeah, thank you so much, everybody. Isha, Charnel, Jillian, you guys did a wonderful job. And I just want to hand it over to Ron now.
Thank you.
Sorry, I joined late, but I was in preparation for a convening that we're having tomorrow here in Baltimore on cooperatives and solidarity businesses. And so, but I did get the last hour, and I'm just happy to that you all were able to share your time and your energy and your intellect and your knowledge with the audience. I'm looking forward to elevating this work around youth in cooperatives. And so I think I did share an email with you, Julian. Yeah. So we're going to talk about how we can collaborate and build out more pathways for youth to get engaged in cooperatives, because I think that, you know, as the young lady has said, it just gives them opportunity not just to earn income, but to build cooperative teams. And so, and in the world today, as Chanel said, that is so vested in me, it's good to see a we. So we're looking forward to what the opportunities and prospects offer us. And again, I thank all of you for sharing your time and your intellect. And I know this won't be the last time. So yeah. So everyone, have a great Thanksgiving, and a great Christmas,
You too.
and however you choose to celebrate it. And I look forward to meeting you all again along this journey.
Hey. Yes,
Thank you.
thank you, Amal, as well. You were a really great facilitator. And thank you, Ron, for continuing this work and just giving us a platform, because who's going to care?
So true.
We're gonna care. We're gonna do it.
So true.
Absolutely.
It was so great to meet you, Charnel, too. I really loved hearing
Yes.
about your experience. I'm gonna do some more research on your org after this.
Okay, yes,
But
likewise.
it was really great meeting y'all.
Yes,
It was really cool talking with you
Oh,
guys.
there she is. That's the young lady I heard. Yeah.
Hello.
The face of
Yes.
Mighty
Serana.
Great work.
But yeah, it was really cool talking on my first webinar. You guys were awesome to talk with. I hope for the few people that joined us, I hope they taught them something. Hope they put their kids on the webinar or on Mighty Greens and Youth Led Cooperative. Drum roll, please.
Oh,
All right.
Yeah.
Well, everybody have a great evening.
Hope we get together soon.
thank you so much. Have a great night, everybody. Thank you for
Bye.
joining.
Thank you.
Great night,
too.
everyone.
Bye.